Well, all right, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes and the not as good of a day as you maybe would have hoped for the against the Houston Texans. Although I have to say, I still think Mahomes played really well in this game. Like, I'm still a believer in Mahomes should be the MVP, and this game did not change that, even though a couple things went wrong. And I'm not going to say that none of it was Mahomes' fault. This play was Mahomes' fault. It's a 3rd down and 5, man coverage. You have a one-on-one matchup on the outside. Good route against this type of coverage, and it's going to turn into a great route against this type of coverage. Watch as Mahomes takes the snap, and he's going to fire, and maybe this was a communication thing. That's possible. Sometimes that does happen. It might have just been, he thought his receiver was going to cut early. But regardless, you have a wide-open receiver. Mahomes does underthrow this one, and if I had to bet, I would bet that was just an underthrow from Mahomes. We do see him sometimes have accuracy issues, right? He isn't the most accurate quarterback. That's probably the one negative you would say in his game. Probably, maybe you could argue him being a gunslinger, although I think that the good outweighs the bad far more frequently with the gunslinger stuff and with the accuracy stuff. But just if you're nitpicking Mahomes, that's where you nitpick him. But on a key 3rd down and 5, okay, that's how you can allow a team like the Texans to hang around. And really, there were just some miscues. I mean, there were just some, turnovers are always going to be a way that you can allow a team that's not very good to hang around for far too long, right? That's always going to be an aspect of it. In this game, it wasn't massive. It was a 2-1 turnover battle, but something like this, which isn't a turnover, can still be a difference maker. Watch as the snap comes, and Mahomes just drops it. So he picks it up, but then gets sacked, and I have to say, that should have been roughing the passer. You can't slam the quarterback to the ground like that. That was a missed call there. Luckily, Mahomes is okay, though. But regardless, it's just kind of one of those miscues. Again, a couple turnovers. You have this, which is a sack, which they were then not able to get the first down on a 3rd down and long, that kind of stuff. Just having a couple of those kind of miscues can definitely be a difference maker. That being said, I thought that there were still some incredible plays from Mahomes in this game. I mean, again, it is. I feel like I say this every Mahomes video. I almost feel like I have to apologize for gushing over his incredible plays, but no other quarterback does this other than Mahomes. Mahomes is one of one, and this is an example where it's going to be a play action to the fullback, which is a hilarious Andy Reid thing going on. But then you have kind of a traditional play action, but just with you have a player running over the middle, also a receiver running a deeper route. The idea is kind of whichever way the safety goes. If the safety comes in over the middle, you throw over the top. If he stays deep, you throw over the middle, that kind of thing. Mahomes is going to run this play action, but with some pressure, he gets flushed outside the pocket. However, off that balance, he fires this one, and you see there's some separation. This is a great throw, but unfortunately, it is going to get called back, which would set up this next play, which, okay, so you now have this situation. It's a 3rd down and 5 here, so there was another play in between these two to get 5 yards, but now you have this one. Mahomes is going to take the snap. Mahomes is, again, going to, this time kind of intentionally go outside the pocket because, hey, if you can get extra time, why not get extra time? You wouldn't say that if, a different quarterback did it, but yeah, you trust Patrick Mahomes in this spot. He has pressure right in his face. 3rd down and 5. Well, what's he going to do? He's going to find Travis Kelce, who's on the hash marks on the opposite side of the field as Mahomes is only a couple yards away from the sideline towards the top of the screen. That's just incredible. The fact that he could do this stuff, there's no other quarterback in the history of the sport that's been able to do this kind of stuff consistently. There just isn't. It's unbelievable that he's able to do this. And yes, even in a game where they played the Texans way too close, they were still able to show me some plays that maybe say, wow, that's unbelievable. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was a fair share of plays like this as well where it's going to be zone coverage. You see the route on the screen. It's a route that can work against this type of coverage. Watch how when Mahomes takes the snap, he is going to fire in that direction. And I mean, just look at how open that receiver is right here. Yeah, it's the Texans. That's kind of what they do. They sometimes will give up, let guys get wide open. That is a factor. But hey, listen, you don't have to apologize for a receiver getting wide open. Part of a quarterback's job is hitting the wide open guy, right? So again, a bit of an easier situation. I think that's reasonable to say. As you see, Mahomes is going to make this throw. You're able to pick up, a little chunk play there, so that's nice to see. But again, more about kind of the scheme itself on that one, which was a factor as well. That definitely helped. It was just as much, again, because they still put up a decent amount of points in this game. They put up 24 in regulation, so that's still a fine offensive day, especially when you factor in kind of the turnovers and the miscues that they had. Actually, if they cleaned up their game, it's actually would be a pretty solid offensive day. I think you could argue that you want even better than pretty solid going up against Houston. Okay, that's fair. But hey, we know it. It's the NFL. Weird things happen. And again, Chiefs kind of known for letting bad teams hang around every now and then. But let's head over to this play. I want to talk about this play for a bit because this is a very fascinating one when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. Let's actually take it back to last offseason. Yes, I'm going very far back from this one play in the Houston Texans game, but give me a reason. Give me a second. You will understand my reasoning. So, what happened in the offseason was they obviously traded away Tyreek Hill. And I think that there were several reasons why they did that. But I do think one of the reasons why they did was because teams were just straight up not playing single safety deep coverages against Mahomes anymore because of how often that he would just throw deep to Tyreek Hill and get a big completion. But now they weren't really getting the value of that. And listen, Tyreek Hill still has a ton of value, even if you're going up against cover 2. But maybe they felt like, hey, if we trade him, one of the benefits, not the only reason they traded him, but one of the benefits of trading him would be we would start to see Mahomes get to see more single safety deep coverages like this one, where it's a cover 1 man blitz, which is just the coverage that Mahomes has torched over his career. But if there's no Tyreek Hill, maybe you're thinking, hey, our corners can man up against the Kansas City Kansas City receivers relatively well. Let's see what happens here. But as you see when this play begins, what's Mahomes going to do? Is he going to throw behind his back and find somebody who's open? Is he going to make a perfect throw? Well, one of the things I've always felt like Mahomes doesn't get enough credit for is his rushing ability. I mean, don't get me wrong, people talk about it, but he really is one of the better runners in the NFL, I think. He's really good at it. And not just is he, he's not the fastest quarterback in the league, obviously, but he's just really effective at picking his spots and moving very well, and he always adds a ton of value when he uses his leg. I mean, look, as you see, Mahomes is going to be able to pick up a first down and then some, and again, factor in the situation. This was on a 3rd down and 4 when they were about 2 minutes left in the game, just outside of field goal range. He puts them in field goal range, which realistically should have been enough for the Chiefs to win this game. If it wasn't for a couple missed field goals, this is not an overtime victory. This is just a victory for Kansas City. And again, I think it's reasonable to say, hey, maybe you shouldn't be going to overtime against the Texans, the team that only has 1 win this season and a tie. Maybe you can actually beat them. That might be a good idea. Beat them badly. That's what you hope happens. I think there's reason to be concerned about this defense, totally. I think there's reason to be concerned about pieces of this offense, potentially. But I don't think there's any reason to be concerned about number 15 for Kansas City. This guy is incredible. I think that this game was still a good game from him, even though I saw people on Twitter maybe saying, oh, Patrick Mahomes, how could it be MVP if you're barely beating the Texans? Well, hey, Texans apparently weirdly scrappy because they also played the Dallas Cowboys very tough. So who would have thought their 2-quarterback system is apparently what's making them play effectively. But as a whole, I thought Mahomes played well in this game. Again, I thought the Chiefs didn't have their best day. Too many miscues. Got to clean that up. And Mahomes still didn't have his best day, but still showed some stuff that a lot of quarterbacks, would dream of having this kind of a football game that Mahomes just had. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.